Hello and welcome to the King's Forum podcast show. And we're back with another episode of Shara Mike, Keeping It Real. We have a very special guest with us today, Georgia. Hi, Georgia.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Georgia is a pussy coach. So that's what today's all about, kind of how she, her journey and how she got to this point. Shara, how you doing?
I'm great, thank you. And welcome, Georgia, to Shara Mike, Keeping It Real.
Hi.
Forward to having this conversation with you. It is very interesting to find out what your role is as the pussy coach. I'm ready to kind of get right into this,
Delve in.
Sure.
Georgia, so what is a pussy coach? Talk to me.
To be honest, I just made it up. I'm not sure it's actually a thing, but I claimed it for myself. So I was like, screw it, here we go. It was definitely like a step in my process of like having like real ownership over what I do and like really just, I guess, being bold and putting it out there. So what I do essentially is help women like connect to their pussies, connect to their wombs, to turn their lives the fuck back on. I feel like so much of like our magic and our communication with like our higher selves live in our bodies, especially, within our pleasure, within our sexuality. So I help women just let go of the shame and go after what they want to go after and allow their bodies to give them all the juice they need.
That loving feel, isn't it? That connection to our, to our pussy, basically. It's that connecting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's often like the part of us that is like deeply rejected by a lot of women, like either through like your menstrual cycle or through having like shameful sort of sexual experiences. So reclaiming that and recognizing the power within that, I think, is a very like, empowering and inspiring place to be in.
Cool.
No, I agree.
Sorry, Mike. Journey, Georgia, how did you get to this point?
Oh, it's been a long journey. So I originally started out as like a menstrual cycle empowerment coach. I used to be a teacher, a primary school teacher. So I didn't really teach much about this. But yeah, during lockdown last year, like I'd always wanted to start my own business, and it got to the point where I got furloughed. So I was like, screw it, I'm just going to go after it. So yeah, I started out as a menstrual cycle coach because that was like my first love. It's like my deep passion. For me, our menstrual cycle is like the deepest spiritual, like self-care, self-love practice we can do. But it got to the point where I was a bit like sick of talking about it, to be honest. People weren't really understanding like the deep spiritual part behind it. They just wanted to like understand, how their body worked, which is, empowering in itself, but I felt a bit like constricted by what I was talking about. And then I went through my whole own sort of healing, heart expanding process where like I went through a sexual assault when I was like a child and in my early 20s. And I kept that inside for like 20 years. I was like, screw that. I'm never talking about that. It was way too shameful, way too scary. And I had my own coach and she sort of like pulled it out of me. And she was like, well, if you choose to like share this with the world and that's like the scariest thing you could possibly do, then what's going to stop you from doing anything else? And I was like, fair, fuck it. All right, I'm doing it. And I just allowed myself to feel it, allowed myself to like share my story with my family and then like with my community. And from then it's like as soon as I let go of the weight of 20 years of shame and guilt and rejection, it's like this whole enormous expanse opened up and I was like, wow, okay, like what do I really want to do now? What do I really want to talk about? What's real for me and how can I really help women?
I wanted to ask, with the menstrual cycle, so obviously our heart and womb is connected, and especially with women, we find that when we go through trauma, it can, and on a spiritual sense, I'm with you on this one. We can find that we can have upsetting menstrual cycles, irregular cycles, gynae issues. Did you ever find that did you ever find from, unfortunately, when you went through that sexual assault, did you find as you was getting older that you had problems with your womb? Because I know they say hidden trauma, you know, it has to go, it goes somewhere, doesn't it, in your body. So if you're not releasing that verbally and talking, it will stay somewhere blocked in your system.
100%. So I was actually on the pill for like 14 years,
Wow.
which is what sort of like launched me into getting into menstrual cycle related work. Because when I came off it, I was like, what the fuck is going on? I've got like all of these emotions, and all this like discharge, like what? And no one could really tell me. Like, I felt like there was so much more to the story. I've never really experienced like painful periods, but for me, I had like a really bad like block in my throat. Like it felt like a physical block to like speak about things. And even after sort of releasing and talking about like my sexual trauma, there was still a lot of like not wanting to be vulnerable. And there's a huge correlation between like your throat and your cervix like look pretty much similar. They're created at the same time. So a lot of women find like blocks in your throat like can be really connected to like sexual trauma. So for me, it was a lot about like learning to use my voice and being comfortable to share and to allow myself to feel the discomfort of sharing things.
Unblocking, isn't it? It's unblocking the throat chakra. So we have our chakras. So
100%. And it felt so,
yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it? But I really had I had quite bad like premenstrual like rage and like just bitterness, a lot of emotions that I was choosing not to feel. And for me now, it's like a lot of grief that comes up still, like in my premenstrual. I cry a lot. I cried at the clouds the other day. I was in my cupboard crying the other week, but it's like a deep well that I haven't cried out for like 20 years. So I have to just allow it to continue to come.
Mike, you have it very easy as a man, don't you?
You know what? I knew this was going to come up at some point.
You know, I'm going to say it like that.
I've got two older sisters, so I've heard it for a very long time growing up in a household predominantly dominated by women. So now I've heard this a lot. Georgia, could you talk to me about kind of how you work with your clients one-to-one to get them to reclaim this power and kind of just lead a successful life and really connect to themselves and their pussies?
Yeah, sure. So it's a very the process we sort of go through is very gentle. It's very like soothing. It's a lot of pacing our nervous system. I think that's such a huge part of like trauma response, is that we feel overwhelmed, we feel like triggered by things, and we don't know how to like figure it out, and so we try to like bury it down or ignore it. And it's quite easy really to ignore our feelings. Like we can really bottle them up and bury them down quite well, but then things happen. It might be like a relationship breakdown or an argument in our relationship, and like everything that we've been burying down like floods to the surface, and we get so overwhelmed by it all. So a lot of the work I do is very much allowing ourselves to meet ourselves where we're at, and to honor and to like witness the feelings that come up. Like I think as women especially, we have a sort of narrative that we're meant to be like the good girl, we're meant to be like patient and kind and loving. Like, and if we feel jealousy, like, oh, like good girls don't feel jealous, good girls don't feel bitter or resentful. And if we choose not to feel like the depth of our emotions, then we can't, bring to the surface those like darker parts of ourselves and reclaim them and have them as like a beautiful part of us, not a shameful part of us. Like jealousy and rage are so like visceral. We feel them so loudly in our body, and they're like an important part of communicating with us. So it's a lot of work around pacing our nervous system, deep diving into like, the inner parts of ourselves, reclaiming like our inner child, our inner teen, seeing like what has made us who we are, and realizing the parts that we tend to throw away are so fucking powerful in like alchemizing our wounds, and they bring so much to our lives. So it's just about bringing them back to the surface. So it looks very different with every client, but it's just, it's a very, it's not like a goal oriented journey we take. It's an unraveling. It's like a spiral. It's allowing whatever comes up. And it's often, I think, the things that we think have no meaning have the most meaning. It's just that they're the most hidden.
I think it's about as well, it's that nervous system, isn't it? It's about regulating the nervous system. And as you said, it's facing whatever trauma that you have been through, whether it be, you know, when you was a child or, you know, a teen, an adult. It is about facing that. And then when you understand the emotions that become present, it's becoming very aware of them, and then learning how to regulate the nervous system, and then learning how to reconnect with yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly that. And it's really hard for us to create new possibilities for ourselves when we're always up against like those really strong emotions and our nervous system is screaming at us. So for us to meet it and to like hold ourselves with it, not to run away from it, like that's when the walls come down and there's like now room to create new possibilities. Otherwise we're always up against like overwhelm, and you can't do anything in that place. You can't create from that place, especially, you know, the women I work with in business. There's no way you're going to create something that feels good, that feels turned on, that you're excited about when you're constantly up against your fears the whole time.
Did you find, sorry, Mike, did you ever find that, you know, some like with your clients, do you ever find that when they start this process into reconnecting, facing trauma, do you find that because their mind is so used to feeding the negative thoughts and the impacts of what they're feeling about their, you know, the lack of confidence, lack of self-esteem, do you find that when they actually start to realize, oh, I can love my womb, I can, you know, this is my pussy, it's no one else's, do you find that actually some of them get scared when they start to believe that this can actually happen because their mind is so set on an old way, an old belief, so to speak?
Yeah, definitely. I find there's always a sort of like we open a new door and we're all like, we're excited about like, yes. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, fuck no. Like you go straight back to like your comfort zone. And I've done it so many times myself, right? Like I went through my own process and I was like, I'm going to create this group program now. And I went straight back to what I knew, straight back to my comfort zone, because it's what feels safe for us. And I think that's why it's so important for us to seek support and help, to have someone that's like, no, it's okay. You can open the door and you can walk through it and it's okay. And I'm here to listen to whatever's coming up for you, because it's definitely, I think we have that thing in our mind, don't we? That like, this is it, I'm healed. Oh my gosh. And it's like, no way. There's so much more shit that comes up.
You have to manage it, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lifelong process, isn't it? That whole healing.
Just took the words out of my mouth.
It is. I think you go deeper and deeper each time, right? There's just more to hold, more to feel.
Do you do any meditations? You know, with the because as you said, you're a spiritual woman as well. Do you do any meditations with your clients? You know, with the heart and the womb, or just connecting with the womb, like womb cleansing meditations or anything like that?
Yeah, we do like quite a lot of pussy meditations of like moving sort of like sexual energy like through our body and feeling like the expansiveness of that. I also do quite a few like menstrual meditations, but moving ones, so allowing your body to like feel into the different stages of our cycle and see how naturally we want to move. Like sometimes it's really expansive movement, sometimes it's like very inner quiet movements, or you know, even meditating on like bitterness as a feeling or jealousy and seeing like how our body wants to express and move through that, because it's often weird. It's not pretty. Especially as women, I think we have an assumption we need to be like beautiful all the time, right? Like, you know, for the male gaze or for whatever it is, but like these raw emotions look and feel quite alien sometimes, but it's so, again, empowering to like feel the truth within our body and to express it out.
You just let it out, isn't it? And just dance.
Yeah.
Out your body. What do you do, Mike?
I do the same. I lay it out and dance.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
Ain't
I
nothing better, is there?
do, you know.
I did like a jealous dance the other day, and it was so spiky. Like because I just normally close my eyes and just go for it, and like I recorded it just out of interest, and I was watching it back. I was like, God, jealousy is a spiky emotion. It was just like a lot of angles that I was whipping out.
I know you're a pussy coach, but obviously we have men, i.e. Mike here. Do you ever do any work with men? Because I'm sure it's a silly question maybe to ask, but there's a reason for it. It's because, you're saying about trauma, men can have trauma as well. They can experience trauma, and that can affect their libido and drive. They may not want to have sex as much, or they may feel that they cannot perform like they would like to, because of self-esteem, lack of self-esteem, trauma that they may have faced or been a victim to. Have you ever worked with any men and done similar techniques?
No, I haven't. I find I think because I speak so much to my own truth about my experience, like as a woman, that I don't have a cock, that's not my area of expertise. But there's plenty of like male cock coaches out there who are doing like a similar sort of thing. I do speak to a lot of men about menstrual cycles though. I find that men have sometimes, if it's a woman who doesn't really understand much about her cycle, often her partner will understand a lot more about what she's going through because they see it and they can like notice the patterns that come up. I find it so fascinating. And for me, when I speak to men about it, like, oh my God, like if I really understood my partner and if she really understood her needs throughout her cycle and she could communicate them to me, then I would feel like I could be so much of a better partner. I can support my partner so much better throughout this process, because until we know what we need, like how the fuck our partner's meant to know? They just don't.
I find like I don't know what I need. It's like 1 minute I can love you, then I can hate you in that whole week. You want to have a cuddle, and then you don't. So it's like, leave me alone, but no, don't leave me alone.
Oh my God, the same. Like premenstrual, so like highly sensitive. Don't breathe near me or be near me. But also I need support and to feel loved and safe right now.
And us men are there looking confused.
Yes, exactly.
Like, what do you want? You're saying no to this, but yes.
Yeah.
What do I do here? And I just keep that quiet space.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what would you do? What do you do, Mike? Because as a man, it must be as Georgia said, men see what us women are going through each month. And as she said, a man becomes confused. So it's kind of like, what's the best way for a man, do you think, to respond? To run away for the week?
No. Listen, this is a part of it, isn't it? This is a part of her life, your life with her, with your partner. So it's about, I hold my space. I let her have her space, and I kind of respond to how she's responded. So I know if she's a bit irritable or what have you, then I'm gonna leave her with that space and just ask her whether she needs anything, she needs support. And it's just like reacting to how she is. And you can feel the moods anyway. Like if you've been with someone for a long time, you can feel that there's something, a volcano might be erupting soon. So that's not the time to, be trying to be funny or trying to do something that's going to irritate her more. But then it's all individual, isn't it? Your partner, what makes them happy, how they are when they're irritable, the ways to kind of please them or calm them, or it's just being supportive and being there for them, and and understanding what the kind of, this is how they are when they're going through this period. So that's what I do. I'm there kind of being observant and just being supportive where I can, and not being overbearing, and not being too lovey-dovey, not being, so just holding my space and allowing them to have their space, and it's kind of just their behaviors. That's what I do anyway. But
that's what we need, isn't it? It's like the analogy of like the masculine is like the riverbed and the feminine is the river. Like we need that safety and that support to like hold us in that time. And that's where and how we feel safe. And I think it's times when we don't feel safe within space with our partner that we have to go and create that riverbed for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. I wanted to ask, okay, Mike will tell you I'm a very curious person, but also as women, he's, I don't know why he's even laughing. So obviously we, you know, as women, we do have a pussy. What's your thoughts on us naming our pussy? You know, like i.e., for example, panty pudding. You know, you have women, we all have a name, don't we? Just like men have a name.
What's the name of your pussy? Tell me again.
And I'll keep that private, you know.
Hey, I'm all for that. If you want to call your pussy something. I'm very passionate as well though about like us understanding like the anatomical names for the different parts of our genitals, because you know, for the pure empowerment process of like going to the doctor if there's something wrong, to know that like that's not my vagina, that's my vulva, you know, these are the different parts. And because we just get a label with this one thing, right? Like men have a penis and testicles, like they don't call their balls their penis because they're two very different things. But it's like women have a vagina, and I'm like, no, your vagina is like the entrance, you know, there's so much more going on there. So for us to know, yeah. So I think like as long as we still know like the anatomical parts and what they're called, then call your pussy whatever you want to call it.
I was going to say, do some of the clients have a nickname if they ever, you know, like said they
I've
have a
never asked. Maybe I should.
You never know, because they say men have a, you know, men call them, you know, have a name for their ding dong.
What's middle
it's
Mike
true.
called?
It's
Mike?
true, we do. Yeah, it's good to have a name.
I've never named mine. I feel like she's just different, you know, at different stages of the month. Sometimes she's like, fuck off, pussy. Sometimes she's, you know, ready to play. She's got different personas.
Different personalities, yeah. Multiple personalities.
100%.
Georgia, talk about some of the challenges as putting a business like this together, and kind of, you know, how you got over maybe some self-doubt, or, you know.
Oh, there's been a lot. I think for me, like understanding that I'm very like led by my pussy, by my like inner creativity, and that I can create my business however I want to create it. But I think when you like start a business, there's like so much noise out there about like, follow this strategy, do this is what a program should look like, this is what you have to do, this marketing, blah 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 blah. And it's so easy to get caught up. And you know, having mentors who are like, you need to do this and this, and so you try to do it and it doesn't feel good, doesn't feel like authentic, doesn't feel like it has integrity behind it. And for me, like when I was in that space, I sold like absolutely nothing, and then I spent so much time being bitter and resentful at everyone and getting to play the victim and having like a huge pity party for myself. So I think a big part of it for me has been really allowing myself to like move out of victim mode and to like take ownership of my business and to do things the way I want to do them. And there's so many women out there who have businesses that are fully like feminine led. They're not just doing like one thing and sticking with it forever. Like they're constantly creating, they're constantly putting out things that are aligned and things that feel like turned on for them. So allowing myself to like move down that path, which is scary because there's not as many people doing it. It feels a bit like I'm out on my own sometimes. But as soon as I allowed myself to go down that direction, like even my previous program, I did the first round and I was about to do the second round, and I was like, I just don't want to do this at all. But then I was like, but I have to do it, because if I don't do it, that means I'm a failure. Like all of these self-talk things that come up. And I was like getting on calls with people, and I was like, I hope they don't turn up, because then I don't have to sell to them, then I don't have to do the program. And I was really in this bad space. And I got to the point where I was like, why the fuck am I doing this? Like, it's my own business. I can do whatever the fuck I want. So my boyfriend broke up with me. That all set up, like that whole part of my life was on fire. So I was like, fucking throw that into the flames too. Whatever, we'll chuck it all on fire. And I get to just do whatever the fuck I want to do. And since then, things have been going very well. Like I've made my first, the highest income month. And yeah, feels good to follow my heart, follow my pussy, do what feels good, let the rest go.
That's amazing, actually. Yeah.
The heart is connected to the pussy.
100%. And like, as soon as you feel like aligned and turned on and excited about what you're doing, like the energy of that, people just, people want a piece of that. That's how I buy into people as well. And it's just, I have to remember that I don't have to do things a certain way, the way other people are doing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You put pressure on yourself, don't you? If you feel that it has to be a certain way, sometimes it's kind of like pressurizing. Whereas if you just naturally just go with how you feel, what you believe, then it just makes it that space so much more safe and more comfortable for yourself and for your clients.
Exactly. Pressure kills pleasure off like instantly, right? Even if we think about like when we're being intimate with someone, as soon as there's pressure to like come or pressure to like do something, you're like, nah, I'm closed off, doesn't feel safe. Like I'm out of my body now, I'm into my head, and then you're fucked, really.
Yeah, it's like you disconnect, isn't it? You disconnect.
Yeah.
And you feel connected and feel sexy, feel womanly, just, and the thing is there's a truth as well that, women have that advantage because it is our pussy. Do you know what I mean? We decide what we want to do with it, whereas men don't have that advantage.
Yeah. You're either there or you're not.
Look at the door. Hello? No, thanks.
Oh, so funny. This is it, right? And I think
so
this is part of like reclaiming our power as women. We've been taught for so long that we're like not second-class citizens, but that like men have all the power and we don't have any of it. But really, we really do. It's just that we forget.
Yes.
You have to relearn, reclaim it all. And that's not to say, I think it's very easy for what has happened with like feminism is it to everything to be like, now it's like toxic masculinity and like men are trash, blah, blah, blah. Like, fuck no, I hate that rhetoric. Like, I love men. Men are incredible. We need men. But feminism is like taking us down a path where we feel like we have to act like men and be like men. And it doesn't feel right for us because we're women. Like, we're so different, and that's beautiful. We have to refine our own unique power, not try and copy what men are doing.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I agree. What about you, Mike? What's your thoughts?
No. I totally agreed with everything you guys are saying. I think that's so true. And I like that point you said about feminism there, about women feeling they need to act like men when they're in certain positions and be a certain way, and when they should just be themselves. And I always talk about that as us as just individuals, never mind men and women. That's our superpower, is our uniqueness. And we need to embrace that and show that off. That's what makes the difference. And like you was talking about earlier, Georgia, about your business, and once you made it all about just you and the way you wanted to do it, that's when it flowed and the success started. And I think we just need to embrace that more as human beings, as ourselves, and our perfect imperfections. And just embrace that as people. And I think this world would be such a beautiful place if we just all did that more, instead of caught up into kind of, I should be in this box, or I should be like this, or no, we should just be ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think as well, if women are meant to be like men, then surely we would have a penis. Do you know what I mean? So allow a man be a man and allow a woman to be a woman, and just let that happen, you know, naturally, and be unique. And I said, you know, own who we are. I think so. And I'm quite happy to be a woman. Not that I had a choice.
Like, you know, all the people who are non-conforming to either men or women, just like really tapping. I think it's just so much about tapping into like the true essence of who we are, right? You know, it's not as if I even identify with being a woman, because like, what is a woman? I get to be like whoever the fuck I want to be.
Yeah.
And you know, some days it's like really feeling into like that femininity, other days it's like just wanting to do whatever the fuck I want to do, you know. I think identities and labels again are so restricting sometimes. Like it's like a self-imposed box that we feel we have to put ourselves into. Like I know even for me, like I used to think that I always had to wear like mascara or makeup every day, or like heels every day, and I fucking hate wearing heels. I don't own heels anymore, and I refuse to wear them even though I'm short, because I'm like, I just doesn't feel good, I don't have a good time, whatever. It doesn't make me any less of like a woman or feminine or whatever it is. So it's just allowing ourselves just to be our fucking selves.
I know, and about the pressure, there's so much pressure in the world. Yeah. And you have to, as you said, you have to be like this, you have to be like that. And it's like, well, no, do you know what? I'm just going to be me. And if that cannot be accepted, then, you know, just walk away, you know, because I'm going to continue my path. And I think more people, and I think, you know, it's that if you don't have that confidence and that self-esteem, you know, because I do believe them two are, you know, very key in, you know, being ourselves. And, you know, we should be able to stand there and say, do you know what? You don't like it? Tough. See you later. Do you know what I mean? Be yourself, and without judgment. And there is a lot of judgment in the world, and people need to learn to take a step back. And as I say, before they judge someone else's home, make sure their own home is clean. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just such a waste of time, isn't it, as well? Like a waste of time to judge, and a waste of time to judge ourselves. Like if I ever have a day of like feeling shit about like my body, I guess at the end of the day, I'm like, well, that was a waste of time. Like I could have spent a day like doing things I enjoyed. I spent my day feeling bad about myself. Like got me nowhere.
But I think that's being human though, isn't it? You know, like we just got kind of like, okay, you know what? That was a rubbish day, but it's done now. Tomorrow's a new day. Because it serves a purpose, doesn't it? It does serve a purpose.
Exactly. I think that it's a space of like wanting to be in like victim mode again, isn't it? Of like wanting to feel sorry for yourself. And it's nice to feel into that sometimes. I'm like, ooh, let me have a pity party for a while. And I'm like, shit, I got things to do. Whatever, moving on.
Georgia, do you have like a mission statement, something for the female viewers or even male viewers watching this, to why they should, you know, sign up to one of your programs, and what's great about Comes from the Pussy Coach?
My mission actually is on my wall. I look at it every day. Is to support women just to unravel themselves, to like live a life aligned to like their greatest fucking expression of who they are, and recognizing that changes and it's going to evolve and it's going to grow. And you know, to think back when we're like nearing the end of our lives, did I live a life committed to my fears, or did I live a life committed to like my self-growth and expansion, and just, you know, to give ourselves permission over and over and over again just to feel into what we want to create. You know, we are creations. We are meant to be living a life of creativity and joy and love, and just fucking enjoy the whole thing. I think there's so much seriousness out there, especially like in the spiritual world or the self-development world. But I was saying to Mike earlier, like, humans are just fucking weird. Let's accept we're weird. Let's enjoy our weirdness, and let's live a life like turned the fuck on. Yeah,
I agree.
A bit of a long mission statement, but
you know what? It's beautifully yours. Do you know what I mean? And it's your statement. It's no one else's. It's yours. And you know, if you love it, and you love it.
It
You
changes
know,
every time as well. The essence of it's there.
Yeah. What's your mission statement, Mike?
Wow. You know what? At the end of the day, for me, it's just about spreading love.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I like happiness is what people to be happy, and I want the best for everyone. And what I'm trying to do with the podcast is just to create a platform for everyone and anyone to tell their story, and it may help others and help themselves at the same time. So that's what I'm about.
I love that.
And that was on the spot. Like naturally, organically, it flowed like a river, you know.
You've been rehearsing that. It's like when they're like, "What's your elevator pitch?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'll say it when someone needs to hear it."
He doesn't like it. I put him on the spot sometimes, you know, like in there, swim, sink or swim.
Or float, just float along.
Yeah, I'm floating at the moment. With that lockdown weight, I'm floating.
Yeah.
Belly up.
Me too. Here for it. Here for it all.
Georgia, what social platforms are you on? Where can people get a hold of you?
So I'm mainly on Instagram at the Pussy Coach, puss.y, because Instagram is Instagram, doesn't like you to use, you know, words like that. Yeah, so everything's on there, all of my links and all the random things that I create and come out with.
I wanted to say a big thank you, Georgia. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
It's been so fun to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure to have you. You have to come back on again soon. We'd love to have you back.
I'm an open book. We can talk about many things.
And keep us updated with the work that you're doing and any new discoveries that you you find. We'd love to know.
I'm sure there's a lot gonna happen. As my coach says to me, Georgia, are you going to get on the train or are you going to stay at the station? I'm like, all right, I'll get on the train, see where we go.
But do you know what? Sometimes it's the best thing though, isn't it? I mean, as I said, you know about the pressure. Just one last thing. It's like, do you know what? Sometimes it's okay if you don't know where to start. Okay, just start and learn along the way. And you'll meet people along the way that will help you and guide you, you know. A little bit like train stations. Like, what's this train station? You know?
Yes, and that is it. I think like that is a huge part of like the divine feminine is like chaos, the unknown. Our womb is like dark. It's like a dark cosmic, you know, expanse in there. We don't know what we're going to find, but we're going to go for it and see where we end up. And that's exciting. I love to think that we don't quite know where we're going to go.
Yeah.
You're right.
History, isn't it?
Chaos is calling. It's just allowing ourselves to go into it.
Thank you very much, Georgia. Shah, pleasure as always. People, please like, share, and subscribe to the video. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.